the ghost of the nun. For starters, I would just like to state for the record that I do not believe in ghosts. Nevertheless, I have always been fascinated by them. Whenever me and my family go on vacation, we normally try to attend ghost tours. Many years ago, when I was still in elementary school, I was attending a party that largely consisted of my family and some friends of my grandma on my mum's side. The party was being held at a community centre. Me and the other children were making believe that a certain room in the community centre was haunted. I mentioned our game in passing when talking to my mum. Suddenly, one of my grandmother's friends, who has sadly since passed away, asked me if I wanted to hear a supernatural story from her own life. Now, this particular friend was a nun for a while and lived in a rectory. One night, she and two other nuns, one of whom was a much older woman, were walking down the hallway of the rectory when the older nun fainted out of nowhere. She and the other nun helped the older nun to her feet and guided her to her room. Naturally, they wanted to know what the hell that was about. The older nun, who was apparently white as a sheet, claimed that as they were walking, she saw a nun walking across the room. Now, given how this rectory was the home of nuns, this on its own wouldn't be out of the ordinary. However, two things made this situation unusual. For starters, the nun that the older nun saw had a blue outline around her, which is a pretty unusual sight. But also, there was nobody else in the hallway at the time. The strangest part of the story is that the rectory did not have a reputation for being haunted. This was literally the only time the friend knew something like this to happen. However, the elderly nun swore up and down that what she had seen was the real deal. Eventually, the friend left the nunhood and never ended up going back to that rectory. Although she was certain that the whole situation was just the imagination of a senile old woman, she was never quite sure.